Good morning to all. Welcome to my channel. Today we will be discussing under standard costing and variance analysis. Under that, your labor variances. So here we have to see that how this labor variance will affect or in your organization's cost structure. You see that labor is an important constituent of your cost of production. So that's why this labor variances is very important, whether your actual and standard is major differing or not. So now given a problem here, details have been given for the standard cost for two workers. Similarly, actual cost for two workers, their standard hour, standard rate, total amount. Similarly, actual data, actual hour, actual rate and amount. This has been given. So now we have to calculate here three types of variances. One is labor cost variances, another is labor rate variances, third one will be coming labor efficiency variances, and fourth one will be your gang variance, that is mix variances. So we'll be going one by one. First will be your labor cost variances. So labor cost variances is very simple: standard cost minus actual cost. So that is the basic variances. So standard cost is your standard hour into standard rate, actual hour into actual rate. For labor X, you see that your standard cost is your 40,000 and actual cost your 45,000. So difference is coming 5,000. Now you see that whether is result is favorable or unfavorable. If in your costing concept, always whenever you will see that if your actual cost is more than your standard cost, then definitely the variance will be negative, that is adverse. Similarly, for Y labor, your standard cost is your 70,000 and actual cost is your 66,240. You see here actual cost is less than your standard cost. So definitely what will be the difference figure? Definitely it will be favorable costing part. Your actual cost is less than that. Simple. Similarly, next point you have to coming for labor rate variance. So labor rate variance, what is the formula? Standard cost of actual time minus actual cost. So formula is standard rate into actual hour minus actual rate into actual hour. So if we remodify this thing, standard rate minus actual rate into actual hour, that will be the formula. So for your labor X, standard rate minus actual rate in actual hour is, standard rate is your 40 and your actual rate is 50 into 900 hours. So total figure jo cost has coming 9,000. So this 9,000 whether is favorable or adverse. So you have to see that this standard rate is 40 but actual rate is 50. That means if your actual rate is more than your standard rate, definitely it will be it is negative part, that is the adverse. Always costing part, your actual rate is more than, it is an adverse. Similarly for your labor Y, standard rate minus actual rate into actual hours, here your standard rate is 50 and actual rate is 48 into your these things actual hour is your 1380. But here you see that your standard rate is 50 but actual rate is 48. That means your actual rate is less than your standard rate. Definitely the variance will be favorable. That means positive variances. So this is your two variances, labor cost variances and labor rate variances. Number 3 is your important variance under labor variance, that is your labor efficiency variances. So labor efficiency variances, how we have to know that? Number 3, labor efficiency variance. So labor efficiency variance, what is the formula? Is that standard cost of standard time for actual production minus standard cost of actual standard cost of actual time. Actual time. So here we can rate this thing standard cost of standard time for actual production. So here your formula will be standard hour into standard rate minus actual hour into standard rate, or we can simplify these things standard hour minus actual hour into standard rate, because this is a common, you know that thing. So standard rate. So for your labor X will be standard hour equal to your 1000 hours minus actual hours your 900 hours into standard rate your this 40 into. So result is coming your 4000. So whether this variance will be favorable or unfavorable, you see that your actual hour consumption is less than your standard hour. So always your costing part, it will be a favorable variances. You are getting my point? So in case of labor Y, your the standard hour is your 1400 hours and actual hours is your 1380 hours. Okay, into your standard rate. So standard rate here is your 50. So total your figure here coming 1000. Here also you see that your actual hour is less than your standard hour. So definitely your variance will be favorable only. So now you understand that how you calculate the favorable adverse. You have to see that your concept wise always your actual, if it is less, so because always you have to standardize it, so your actual always you try to less your standard, then it will be favorable. Otherwise तो your standard का मतलब कुछ होता नहीं है, you cannot control in your cost control for labor. So then this is your labor efficiency variances we have done. Number 4, very important these things, gang variance. Gang variance, that is we can otherwise call the mix variance also. Mix variance. So in this case our gang variance formula is your standard cost of actual time worked in standard production minus standard cost of actual time worked, or we can remodify this formula standard rate into revised actual hours minus actual hours. You see that here this formula, the standard rate you know, actual hours also you know, but only thing we do not know, that is the revised actual hours. So revised actual hours how will calculate? Suppose for any product, any labor, why we are doing for these things, your standard rate is 50 into your this thing revised actual hours you have to make. How it is your these things actual hours, that is 2280 into you have to take it your particular that labor standard hour is 1400 by 1000 plus 1400 minus your actual hours is 1380. So if you solve these things, will be very easily we can do this way. So 50 into this 2280 into 1400 by 2400 minus 1380. So if you calculate is your this way, so this total figure will come, you solve it, this is 2500. So now you calculate it, just you multiply it, divide by this thing, this minus, and multiply it this thing. So we can calculate this way. You do your calculator, you do that thing. Now question is coming. So this figure whether is favorable or adverse. So definitely these cases, this area, your revised actual hours, whether it will be positive or negative. So let us calculate this way. So how these calculations we can make it? This. Then your 6 into 4, 3, 8, 0. $95. So 95 into 14, how much? 95 into 14. 95 into 14. It will be your 1330. 1330 minus 1380. So that is your 50. So now here question is coming. This 2500. Whether it is favorable or adverse. You see that revised actual hours and actual hours. You see that actual hours is 1380 and revised actual hours is your 1380. So definitely your actual hours is more than revised actual hours. So this concept wise, this result will be your adverse. You are getting my point, this thing. So if your revised actual hours in comparison to your actual hours is less than this thing, then it will be adverse, because that means ultimately your actual hours is more than your revised actual hours. Revised actual hours, this is related to standard. So this way, this thing. So this gang variance is little bit complicated in such concept. For writing your adverse or favorable, you have to see carefully whether your revised actual hours and actual hours, which is more or less. Always you have to see that if actual hours is less than revised actual hours, it will be favorable. If it is your revised actual hours is less than your actual hours, it will be adverse. So this is the thing. So in our cases, this labor variances, we have discussed these things, and this concept of standard costing, basic and your material variance, that I have given in my another video. Kindly do subscribe to my channel so that whatever these new videos will come, this it will be informed to you. So आज के लिए इतना तक. हमने next our video के लिए will be making for our this another this overhead variances also will be doing. So आज के लिए इतना तक. Kindly do subscribe to my channel. We are ending our video here. Have a good day.